Thank you, Philip. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Kentucky Public Pension Authority quarterly meeting. Michael, are you reading the opening statement, sir?
Yes, sir. This is a regular meeting of the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority. This meeting is being broadcast via video teleconference pursuant to Kentucky Revised Statute Section 61.826 and may be viewed by the public at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority offices at 1260 Louisville Road in Frankfort, Kentucky. It is also being broadcast to the public via Facebook. If you are speaking and not appearing by video, please identify yourself before talking. Please ensure that you're on camera when making or seconding a motion or casting a vote. In the event the video or audio broadcast is interrupted, we will attempt to reestablish a connection. If a connection cannot be reestablished within 30 minutes, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled to another date. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Sherry, could you take the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Cheatham,
Here.
Dr. Carver,
Here.
Mr. Fulkerson,
Here.
Dr. Hackbart,
Here.
Mr. Lane, Mr. Piercy,
Here.
Mr. Summers,
Here.
and Mr. Totten.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, being quorum present, we'll go ahead and move forward. I understand there hasn't been any public comment, so we'll move forward to item 5 on the agenda, which is the approval of minutes from the April 22nd meeting. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions that need to be made? If not, can I get a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it. Minutes passed as presented. Next item on the agenda is from the Audit Committee. Kristen, Mr. Summers, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Yes, we did have a meeting, and is Kristen home? She can
I am.
do the update for us.
So at the meeting, it was a special meeting on June 10th. There were a couple of items that were presented that need to be ratified by the board today. And the first thing that we're asking for ratification is the budget. And Sherry, if you'll go to the next page, that is where we can find that. So this is the proposed budget for fiscal year 2027. I did work with Mike Lamb to make sure this budget worked for the overall KPPA budget, and it did. So it is an increase of 5% over what we are estimating as our actual expenses of 2026. The 2027 is an estimated 5% increase, which includes the salary increases for all employees in July and also an anticipated increase in insurance. Those were the biggest causes. There are some conference expenses, but that deals with we are co-hosting a conference in November. We will all be attending that. So that's why you see an increase in the conference expenses this year. If there are any questions, happy to answer that. If not, we are seeking a motion for ratification of this budget.
Okay. Any
The
questions?
audit committee, the audit committee did approve this budget, so we are recommending approval to this board.
Okay. I'll take that as a motion, Mr. Summers.
Yes, sir.
Is there a second to that recommendation?
I'll second.
Got a second? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it. Audit committee budget or audit office budget is adopted as presented.
Thank you. And the next item that we review that we've brought to the KPPA board for ratification are some audits. And I'm actually going to turn that over to Madeline and let her go over those audits.
Morning, guys. This is Madeline. So we just have 2 audits. None of them have any findings, opportunities for improvement or anything. The first one is, as you can see here, the post-retirement audit process. So in that one, we just made sure that the audit process that happens by quality assurance. Was catching errors when they needed to be caught and correcting the benefit payments. Staff are great to work with there. Seeing we got lots of commendations there. And then Sherry on page 17 is the second audit. And this one was about how our administrative regulations get updated. This one was completed in lightning speed at 2 to 3 weeks because the procedures were so detailed that we didn't really have to pester the people who do this. And they were great to work with, very quick to respond to questions. And we had no findings with this one either. Are there any questions about either of these two audits?
Any questions for Madeline? William?
I'd recommend that we ratify this as well.
Okay. Again, I'll take that as a motion to ratify the 2 audit reports as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second from Larry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 2 audit reports are adopted as presented. We'll move
And that's
on.
I was going to say that's
I'm
everything
sorry.
I have for the audit committee, unless Mr. Summers has anything else he wants to add.
No, thank you, Kristen. Appreciate everybody.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 7, which is the administrative budget. Mike Lamb.
Thank you. There is a memo and some detailed explanations in your board packet, but essentially this is the 2027 KPPA administrative budget, $49,811,000. That is the amount that was passed through House Bill 500 through the biennium budget process. So as KPPA staff, we've worked through all of the line items, and this is the summarized amount showing $49.8 million to be approved by the KPPA board for fiscal year 2027. In the past, we've budgeted and got approval at these high line items. And if one of these line items happens to go over budget, we would need to come to the KPPA board to get approval to do that. If there's line items within these summarized line items that go over or under, we are able to move amounts between those individual line items. And if you pay down to the next page, Sherry, it'll kind of show you. Let's go 2 pages down. Oh, sorry, 3 pages down. Yes, this starts the individual line items that are there. So within, for example, personnel, you have all of these individual line items related to personnel. And then you have legal contracts, the individual legal firms, auditing, actuary, etc. So on the right side of this particular page and the next page, there are little notes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I provide some detailed explanation of the budget amount, how it was formulated, why it may be higher or lower than prior year or prior than actual, and would be happy to elaborate on any of that. But my request today is to have the KPPA board approve the administrative budget at $49.8 million as presented.
Okay. Any questions for Mike?
Yeah, I have one. It's regarding the locality premium. I noticed this seems to be a new line item, and I was curious, first of all, is it indeed new? And the second is, to which localities does this apply?
What was the first part of your question, Mr. Totten?
There's a blank under the fiscal 26 approved budget. So I was asking if this was a new feature available to state government employees. And then the second part related to where are the localities covered?
So the blank in fiscal year 2026, we did have some locality premiums that were added in fiscal year 2026. They were the result of the personnel cabinet's review of various IT related positions. And they granted locality premiums to certain positions related to those fields. We budgeted both the salaries and the locality premiums in total in the salary line item. And then as the payroll costs became actual, we got actual amounts for them. So this year we decided to separate the locality premiums into its own budget line item because we can track them by actual. And I think I might have put a note in there. I think we budgeted about 400 and something $1,000, maybe 450,000 in locality premiums last year, but it was in the salary line item. So now we've broken that out and we have 475. The locality premiums, I don't have the specifics of, if they relate to various counties or cities around Kentucky, but I might have to rely on Lori, who's not in this meeting, to give me the specifics of the locations related to them. But it does relate to IT related positions that may be hard to find such qualified people in Franklin County, for example, and so they pay a locality premium for that type of IT person.
Okay.
Okay. I appreciate the question, Larry. That was helpful to me as well. Anybody have additional questions for Mike? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the administrative budget as presented.
So moved.
Got a motion by Larry. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by JT.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it. Mike, appreciate your work, and I know you had to juggle some numbers, and we appreciate the clarity that you presented everything in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Item 8 on our agenda is the investment department update and investment budget. Steve?
Thank you.
Start.
Appreciate it. Good morning. Kristen and Mike have set a pretty high bar for brevity, so I'll try to follow suit here. From a investment perspective, the quarter really was a tale of two halves, as I talked about in the investment committee and the board meetings, and consistent with that broader market. After posting positive performance in January and February, the portfolios declined in March, pushing the performance for the quarter modestly negative. At the total pension composites level, the portfolio produced a return of minus 79 basis points for the quarter, outperforming the blended benchmark's return of minus 1.24, while the insurance composite produced a return of minus 95 basis points, also outperforming the return of the benchmark by 36 basis points. At the individual portfolio level, performance for the quarter ranged from down 44 basis points to down 104 basis points. Importantly, all of the portfolios outperformed their respective benchmarks during the quarter. Looking at fiscal year to date, the pension composite produced a return of 5.65, outperforming the blended benchmark's return by 65 basis points, while the insurance composite produced a return of 5.42%, outperforming the blended benchmark's return of 4.91%. Converting those to dollars, that outperformance equates to approximately 147 million of outperformance for the pension portfolio and 45 million for the insurance portfolio. April performance was recently finalized. The pension composite produced a return of 5.09% for the month, while the insurance composite produced a return of 5.08%, bringing fiscal year to date performance to 11.03 and 10.77% respectively. May performance is still preliminary. The portfolios did produce positive performance during the month, and the composites are currently indicated up about 2%, which would bring fiscal year to date performance to over 13%. Before anyone books those fiscal year to date performance, I would caution that volatility has picked up in June, as we're all aware, with U.S. equities as of this morning down a little over 3% month to date. And we still have a handful of trading days, so a little too early to call fiscal year to date performance. As noted in the investment committee and the board meetings, all of the portfolios have continued to produce exceptional risk-adjusted performance over the 1, 3, and 5 year reported periods, and that's based on Wilshire's all public plans universe. All of the portfolios have produced Sharpe ratios in the top 5% of Wilshire's peer universe over the 5-year periods. As we talked about in the investment committee and the board meetings, absolute performance is very important, but we also believe that this risk-adjusted return measure is an important metric, as the asset allocation guidelines provided by the investment committees and the boards really determine the specific risk parameters and constraints under which the portfolios are constructed, and how staff manages those risks. And these risk-adjusted return measures demonstrate the efficiencies of the performance produced in the portfolios. At the investment committee and the board meetings, we also talked about some of the cost efficiency work that the staff has done. Again, we target effective fee rates for managers that are in the lowest quartile of the universe for that respective mandate. Staff successfully renegotiated management fees with our public high yield manager, lowering fees by 12%, saving the systems an estimated $500,000 a year. And over the last year and a half, staff has successfully renegotiated management fees with 7 of our 14 public equity managers, resulting in annual fee savings of approximately $4.6 million. Page 42, please, Sherry. Thank you. The investment budget for fiscal year 2027 is presented. As we know, KPPA spending related to investments is paid directly from the trust, both the pension and the insurance trust, based on assets under management. And these costs are not included in the administrative budget that Mike just presented, and they are not submitted as part of the biennial budget. The total amount budgeted for fiscal year 2027 is $10.8 million, which is a reduction of $1 million or 8% from the total budgeted for fiscal year 2026. Looking at the individual categories, consulting services, the 2027 proposed budget for consulting services increased by $30,000 or 2%, and that's really just based on the inflation component for our general consulting services contract. We also maintained a line item for a new private markets consultant to provide additional services and analysis to the investment staff and boards. This will be part of the larger review of consulting services that we're conducting, including in the anticipated RFP for general consulting services that we hope to wrap up by in fiscal 2027. In the legal and auditing services category, the proposed budget is $1.57 million less than fiscal year 2026. And this decrease in the budget is due to resolution of certain investment litigation. As always, this is the most difficult category to budget. And Michael did want me to note that depending on actions in the remaining open cases, we could see a significant increase in overall legal expenses. I don't think that's anticipated, but just a caution there. In contractual services, the fiscal year 2027 budget is $600,000 higher than in fiscal year 2026. That increase, as we'll note, is primarily driven by the increase in the amount budgeted for custodial services, which is largely driven by the increase in total assets of the trust, as well as the increase in the number of underlying custodial accounts and the related transactions in those accounts. This category will receive a lot of focus this year, including the scheduled RFP for custodial services, as well as a complete review of contracted services and analytical platforms. A couple of items to note in this category: the S&P Global Index services were replaced with index services from Russell, and there was also a $40,000 increase in ISS. ISS again provides proxy voting and securities litigation monitoring and filing services for the system. And while we've seen a modest increase in those fees based on the number of proxies voted for the systems, the larger portion of that increase is due to the increased scope of securities litigation filing that ISS will be performing on behalf of the systems. ISS will now be responsible for monitoring and filing both U.S. and non-U.S. securities litigation claims for the systems. That broadens out the scope of their services and gives us full coverage globally. There I will stop and pause for any questions.
Steve, do you have any idea what the timeline is as far as the RFP for custodial services?
So the RFP will be certainly in the first quarter of fiscal 2027. So there's already been legwork done on that. The working group has been formed, the scoring group has been formed. So I think that we hope to get that out. Mike Lamb is really heading that. Investments will be more of a consultant on that. We will be part of the scoring team, but I hope to get that out probably in the first quarter, and hopefully wrapped up then by the second quarter of fiscal 2027.
Okay. Anybody have additional questions for Steve? I know everybody's heard his presentation at least once in the last few weeks, so. Hearing none, I believe we need to get a motion to, let's see, approve his investment budget
So,
as presented. Got Larry with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, I believe, was JT.
Oh, not this time.
Oh, okay.
I'll sign it.
Gary, I'll let you figure out who that was.
Sorry.
No problem.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of passage of the investment budget as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Investment budget has passed as presented.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 9, a KPPA update. I think everybody has heard Ryan's update in their respective board meetings. Ryan couldn't be with us today. However, Aaron, is there anything you would like to add or?
No, sir, I don't have anything to add from what was included in the report.
Okay. I'm sure if there's anything in the report that you have questions on, Ryan or Aaron will be happy to answer them for you. With that, we'll move on to the KPPA strategic plan update. Aaron, I believe that is yours.
That is me. Thank you. I'm happy to present our annual business plan for our strategic plan. I wanted to just back up and give a little bit of background information regarding our strategic plan. In fiscal year 24, we partnered with ProValiant, a vendor, to help us develop and get started our 4-year strategic plan. We hadn't had a strategic plan for many years, but we knew we had great staff with great ideas and a lot of things that could enhance our systems and some things of necessity. So we wanted to start implementing a plan that we could organize all of those things and move forward with some of those initiatives over a 4-year plan. So again, this is a 4-year plan. In fiscal year 25, we worked really closely with ProValiant to translate our strategic goals into clear, actionable initiatives and how to execute that going forward. Additionally, we, in fiscal year 26, in this fiscal year, so last year, we brought the business plan to the board for the work that was going to be completed in fiscal year 26. I've mentioned at different times when we've talked about strategic planning, I said, we were getting our feet wet in the beginning and we're getting better at this every day. And I think that once we get through our first 4-year cycle, that we will be really good at this strategic planning. But it is evolving. The strategic plan is evolving. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is that last year we presented the plan as an implementation plan, but as we discussed that more, we have changed the name of that to the business plan. And really the reason for that is it's not quite an implementation plan and it doesn't give the how we're getting things done, but it's what we're going to be working on. And I'll give a little more information later on how we get those things accomplished during the year. Now, what I'm presenting today, these slides are an overview. The full plan is quite lengthy, and so I'm not going to go through that, but that does start on page 55 of your board material if you are interested or if you have questions on that. So this year, for fiscal year 27, we are bringing to you our business plan for the work we plan to get done in this fiscal year. This is a fluid document, so things might change from what's in there today. Some things get moved in, and if things take priority and we move them in the plan, that oftentimes means things have to be moved out. So it is a fluid document, and but it is a good roadmap for what we will do for the fiscal year. One of the significant things, or one of the initiatives that was on last year's approved plan, was the formation of the Strategic Planning Committee, and that was formed in the fall of this year. You can find the staff members who are on that committee on page 68 of the board materials. But that committee is tasked with evaluating the ongoing and new initiatives that are on the full plan. They also have been working on defining processes as it relates to the strategic plan. We have also been working on a communication plan for staff to get better communications on what we're achieving and what we're doing on the strategic plan. And significantly, this year, the strategic plan, or the Strategic Planning Committee, developed this 2027 business plan that is being presented today. So a lot of good work, as we do meet monthly, and I'm very proud of the committee and the work that it has done so far. And then next year, of course, we'll work on the plan again and bring that to you all at the end of this fiscal year. So Sherry, if you want to move to the next slide, please. Just a reminder, in the original full strategic plan that was approved, there were 4 areas of focus that were approved for putting all of our initiatives and our work, capturing those under those 4 areas of focus. And as a reminder, those are organizational excellence, customer service delivery, infrastructure and key resources, and governance. So just looking at some of the work, and this again is not all that is included in the plan, but some of the highlights under organizational excellence. We're going to look at developing the ongoing and periodic review of all in-house policies. That work has already been started by our compliance officer, and it will continue into fiscal year 27. Next slide, please. Our customer service delivery. So to talk about, again, a little bit about the implementation of some of these initiatives, we have formed a 3-person team for each of the initiatives. And that 3, it's something that was new to us that was presented by ProValiant. We used to have much larger groups look at that, but we narrowed it down to 3 individuals who are picked by the respective business areas where the initiative is focused. And those 3 members spend about 50% of their time for 3 months researching the current process, looking at best practices and new processes, some software or tools that may be available to help implement a plan, and then they make recommendations for implementation and moving forward. So that will continue in this fiscal year with some of our service delivery programs. One of the things that we will continue into this fiscal year is the paper check reduction initiative. That actually started in last fiscal year. And as I mentioned earlier, that this document is fluid. That was actually a new item that wasn't on the original plan, the full plan. And kudos to Ryan. That was one of the things that he identified when he first started working here at KPPA as something that we needed to review and consider and maybe make adjustments to. I think it has been a very good initiative, and I just wanted to report that in June of 2026, our monthly payroll for June of 2026, our paper checks were reduced by around 32% from what it was in June of 2025. So I think that is significant. Not only is there a cost associated with paper checks, printing and of course postage, but a little more significantly, and unfortunately we see too often, is checks aren't delivered timely, or maybe get lost in the mail, which can cause hardships to our members. So I'm really proud of the team's work on that and the accomplishments we've made. We will continue to look at some member self-service enhancements to make available to our members more capabilities in self-service to do some transactions. We're also going to reevaluate the current service model for our members. This will be a pretty big task with a lot of research and review. It was actually on the plan last year, and it kind of was bumped because of other initiatives, one of those being the paper check reduction, but we are going to start looking at that this year and see where we can make adjustments. And then we'll also be working on some employer self-service redesign to make things more enhanced for our employers that we work with. Next slide. So under infrastructure and key resources, under succession plan, we are in the process actually of developing ongoing staff training on our M365 collaborative tools. When we moved over to 365, there was need from and desire from staff to have more training and more things accessible to learn all of the functionality and new things that are offered in that program. In Ryan's report that you all have heard at your each respective board meetings, we talked about the TKIP interns that we have. There's 5 of those. We actually have an additional intern working. That was on the 2026 business plan, but one of our interns is actually working and has made great progress on developing some of these collaborative tools for us. We will continue to expand our KPIs, our key performance indicators, to ensure that we have KPIs for all functional areas across the agency. We are going to be establishing framework for sustained conformance with web content accessibility guidelines. I think you all have probably heard of this somewhere along the way, but these are some federal regulations that go into effect April of 2027. It actually originally was scheduled for April of 2026, but an extension was granted to ensure online content is usable for everyone, including those with disabilities. So that's our website, that's our self-service portal, our publications on our website, our forms, our web pages, and even we'll be looking at these remote meetings that we have. So there will be some compliance there. So we will be doing a lot of work to make sure we are in compliance by April of 27. I received a report not too long ago, and I was very pleased with the progress we've made so far. And there were some things that we're going to be taken care of in some of our build cycles that are coming up. And I do want to say not just meeting the compliance standards in April 2027, but this is an ongoing, these standards will be implemented into our ongoing normal business processes. So there will be a lot of training for staff and people who will be staff that will be responsible for ensuring that we maintain that level.
Here,
Yes, sir.
question. Is M365 Microsoft 365?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought it was. I just wanted to check.
That's correct. Thank you. Okay, we can go on to the next. Technology. Of course, technology is a huge part of getting a lot of these things implemented. I'm going to go past the first. We'll talk about the first couple of bullet points in just a minute. We are going to develop an internal artificial AI policy. Identity verification. This is identity verification for our members when they are using our self-service portal. As you all know, from hearing things at these meetings and in your personal life, there is a lot of fraud that occurs today in cybersecurity events, and we want to take every possible measure to secure our members' benefits that we can. So we are implementing an identity verification solution. We intend to upgrade our phone system, and we're going to be consolidating and updating accounting software, and we're also integrating our software development lifecycle into strategic planning. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk a little bit, you've heard us talk about before the technology assessment last year when Rebecca presented this plan. We were in the final stages of the RFP for securing a vendor for the tech assessment. That vendor is Linear Solutions, and we've been working with them since sometime in the fall of this fiscal year, I believe, and they are doing an assessment of our technology and processes. And as a result of their work, which is scheduled for completion in December, I believe at the end of the calendar year, there will be recommendations on where we will go as far as moving forward for our system modernization project. So it could be any number of things. It could be changing code. It could be their recommendations could be a full rip and replace the system totally. But we are not at that point yet, but there will be more information provided to the board as we move along during these phases. So right now, this is a capital project that did have to require approval from some different bodies in the executive branch, and ultimately approval through the biennial budget cycle. We did receive approval in the budget for this planning phase for fiscal year 27 and 28. There is more information on the capital project on page 69 of the board books. And then, of course, you can see on these next two phases that we will begin the implementation in fiscal year 29 and 30, and then the closure phase, the plan is fiscal year 31 and 32. So it is, any system modernization is a multi-year plan. I have heard from different conferences, from different statewide systems, anywhere from 5 to up to, I've even heard 10 years for implementing a new system, a modernization. Again, we don't know to what level our modernization will be at this point, but we hope to have some information to present to the board in this next fiscal year. We certainly will in this fiscal year. And then under governance, governance isn't really about you all, it's about staff and how we support the board. So one of the things that we will continue to do is evaluate board and committee document processes. There's several tasks listed under this, a redaction policy, for example, or a redaction process. And some of the operational resources that we have listed to evaluate the bylaw compliance. Of course, that is part of the compliance officer's duties. And we also, a new thing that was implemented, new initiative, was a policy and procedure solution. We actually went back to those 3-person teams that I mentioned earlier. We have a 3-person team looking at a possible solution to house our policies in a central location for easy access for staff and others to find. And that work is going on right now. So that concludes my presentation of the 27 business plan. Like I said, I'm happy to take any questions you have. And we are looking for approval from the board to move forward with this plan.
Do we have questions for Aaron? Aaron, I've got a couple. I don't think we'll take a whole lot. You talked about the check reduction. What percentage of our members are still receiving a paper check? Do you have an idea?
Small. Let me see if I can do some quick math. I would say, because I do want to say that our members are required to have their pension check direct deposited unless they do not have a bank account or the financial institution doesn't accept ACH. Otherwise, they are required to have that. We do still have some members who were grandfathered in before that law went into effect, that they can still receive the paper check. I think we have about a little over 200 who fall under the category of not having a bank account. And then the others, which is roughly, I think it's around 1,100 total that fall under the grandfathered status. So it's really about less than probably 1% or right around 1% of our retirees that are receiving a monthly pension check receive that by a paper check. Now, there are other processes where paper checks are issued. And we are looking, and we have a plan for developing and being able to direct deposit those that are traditionally paper checks.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I weigh in on?
Absolutely.
Internal audit just did an audit where we looked at this, and I can say that Aaron's numbers are spot on. When we looked at it, it was right around 1%, a little less, that still got paper checks.
Perfect. Thank you. The identity verification, are we talking about, like 2-factor authentication when somebody logs in, or what are we talking about there?
It's not exactly multi-factor authentication. It is, and you all might be familiar with this because there are others, such as the Social Security Administration and the IRS uses it's called ID.me. is the vendor, and that is what we will be using for our identity verification. We just recently had a demo and heard about some of the other statewide pension plans that are using it in North Carolina. I think I have the numbers right. It was, I think 50%, maybe Odette, you can remember better, but 50% of their members had already been authenticated through ID.me through another source like the IRS or Social Security. So if that's the case, then it's a real easy transition to have the identity verified for the KPPA.
Okay, and then when was the last time you all went through an update or modernization of your tech stack?
The last time was our current start system that we use, and the final phase of that plan was done in August of 2011. Yes, I think, and it was a multi-year plan. I believe it started in 2008 or 2009. I was in phase 6, which was the last phase. I worked on the START project team, and it was a lot of work, and it took a lot of resources. Now, at that time, that was what was called a complete rip and replace. We went to a whole new system from our old legacy system. So it was a big move. Again, I don't know that that will be what we will do this time around, and I don't know that it won't be. So more to come on that.
Last question, I promise. I know we had a conversation some weeks ago with regard to you all making more use of your email capabilities to members with regard to things like their, letting them know their annual statement was available to be reviewed, things of that nature. Is that going to be part of this process, or?
It absolutely is. I am trying to find the page. Here it is. On page 63 of the board material, under targeted communications and programs, where we're reevaluating the current service model, one of the tasks under that is to explore targeted communications for member annual statement notification to members. So that has been added as a task under reevaluating our customer service model, or customer service delivery.
Okay. All right. Anybody have additional questions for Aaron? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept or ratify the updates to the KPPA strategic plan for 2027.
So moved.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Summers. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Your update is approved.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on. I've been told this will probably be a short closed session, but I need to get a motion to move into executive session based pursuant to KRS 61.810C and
recording stopped.
61.810F to discuss pending litigation and a personnel matter which might lead to the reappointment of an individual employee.
I don't think 1F is necessary.
Okay.
So.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes have it. We'll now move into executive session. A motion having been made in open session to move into closed session for a specific purpose, and such motion having carried by majority vote in open public session, the board shall now enter closed session to consider litigation matters pursuant to KRS 61.8101C. Closed session is necessary because of the necessity of protecting the confidentiality of KPPA's litigation strategy and preserving any available attorney-client privilege, as well as to protect the any employee's confidentiality. With that, Philip, if you'll take us offline.